Hello and welcome to this tutorial about the final stage of your project, communicating. There are many things related to your remote food security project that you need to communicate, such as results of surveys, project milestones, lessons learned, and any methodological challenge. In this tutorial, we'll walk you through some communications guidelines you should keep in mind throughout your remote data collection project. First, let's think back to the project cycle that we studied in Lesson 3. The first stage of the process was engaging the partners so we could design the survey around their information needs. The same philosophy applies with communications products. Before you start preparing any communications materials, it's important to start with your audience. You can do this by thinking about the following questions. Who is your target audience? What do they want to know and how often? And how can you reach them? It's only after answering these 3 questions that you should choose your tools and channels. It will mean that you keep your audience engaged and informed and ultimately give them the information they need and want. First, consider who your target audience is. Are they colleagues, management, donors, partner organizations, governments, or the general public? You might have several audiences that are important to you. If you're interested in ways of communicating with affected populations with whom you work, have a look at the tutorial on two-way communication. Then, think about what information your audience wants to know and how often they need it. You'll have to adjust your communication channels and tone depending on whether you're sharing the results of your surveys, lessons learned, methodology, or news about your project. Make sure that you also consider how often your target audience needs this information. It takes different amounts of time and resources to produce communications products, so don't try and do something too complicated if you only need short, quick updates. But how can you reach your audience? When considering how to share your findings, you may think of a written report such as a bulletin, but there are many other formats you can use to communicate about your project. We're going to go through a few of them here so you can think about selecting what works best. Ideally, you would use not just one tool, but many of these tools to communicate about your remote monitoring project. Before we get into the bulletin and other tools, let's go through some key considerations in identifying how to best reach your audience. Firstly, language. What language works best for each target audience? Are they a multilingual group, or are they non-native speakers of the language you're using to communicate? Secondly, the frequency. How often does your audience need information updates? Thirdly, how technical is your audience and how familiar are they with your work? Can you use technical terms, or is it better to provide more general explanations? Fourth, tone. Will your audience respond better to a formal or informal tone? Finally, the channels. What are your audience's preferred means of communication? Is it print, radio, TV, or web? Consider any technical limitations, such as whether there's regular access to a good internet connection. Based on your understanding of your audience, it's time to decide the type of content you want to produce and choose the tools to use. We will now go into more detail on a number of different tools that you could use for your communication. Firstly, you could produce traditional written bulletins to communicate the results of your survey. These are good for communicating with decision makers, donors, partner organizations, and providing key advocacy messages. The best bulletins are short and simple, with key messages. They have a formal tone, are not overly technical, and avoid using jargon. To engage the reader, it's helpful to use maps and graphics. Between the analysis and doing the layout, bulletins generally take some time to prepare, so be careful in managing expectations and setting a frequency that is reasonable. For instance, these are often published monthly or quarterly. Of course, the frequency will also be driven by the need. In emergency situations, you may need more frequent updates. However, print media isn't the only way to communicate your results. Interactive data visualizations help to ensure that everyone, from managers and executives in your organization to the general public, can easily understand your data. These are a dynamic way of showcasing your data in near real time, and your data is uploaded directly from your database, so it's also easy for you. However, bear in mind that if your audience are in areas with low connectivity, it may take a long time to load data visualizations. Keeping an informal website like a blog is a good way of discussing your methodology, lessons learned, the development of your project, and any particularly noteworthy results that your survey produced. Blogs allow you to capture a much wider range of content that you would put in a bulletin or academic paper, so they make a nice complement. The good thing about blogs is that they are more informal and flexible, so they should also be fun to read. They're also fast to write. You don't have to meet the same formal requirements and detailed formatting like with other tools. They're an easy way of engaging the general public and interested professionals to build a dedicated network. So, avoid jargon and formal language. Use lots of visuals and hyperlink to other relevant content so your readers can keep on learning. You'll want to publish blogs with some frequency, ideally at least once a month to keep up a readership. While you'll want to promote your blog posts online and make sure your readers are interacting with your content, you don't have to stick to a regular schedule. Guest articles or academic papers are also a good way of raising the profile of your project, discussing methodology and lessons learned. Depending on the type of publication, you can reach different audiences. Op-eds in international newspapers allow you to engage with the general public. Formal academic papers can increase your network and verify your methodology with a more technical audience. They are important ways of gaining credibility and solidifying new knowledge. Another method of communicating your findings is via social media. Posting on platforms such as Twitter or Facebook can alert your readers to new bulletins, survey results, or blogs. It's a good way of quickly publicizing your work and sharing advocacy messages. Using pictures and infographics will help to increase your audience engagement as it gives people a way to easily digest information. Remember to tag relevant partners or donors to give them the necessary visibility for their support. As these messages are short and have a global reach, it's easy to connect with a multilingual audience. This means you should use an appropriate language like advertising French bulletins with a tweet in French. As well as producing your own content, taking part in live events like tweet chats or Facebook Live broadcasts allows you to increase your visibility and engage in informal discussions with other individuals. Social media does require the most frequent communication. You have to be willing to keep it up if you start, but remember, you can keep it short and simple. But you shouldn't limit yourself to written communication. Some of the most effective forms are spoken. Presenting to colleagues and partner organizations, both formally or informally, is the best way of engaging internally with your colleagues. We recommend doing it frequently. It ensures that your co-workers and partners understand your methodology and will actually use your findings. It can also be a reality check, hearing from them about what information they most need to know and tweaking your tools to collect it. It's also a way to share results quickly with decision makers, like management, who are busy. Often your partners and colleagues are in different places, so another great way of engaging them is through a webinar. Theming your webinar around a particular part of your project, like gender or IVR results, can help to orient your discussions. One way to engage directly with an external audience is by taking part in conferences. Here, you can share your findings, methodologies, and lessons learned with interested parties. It's also a way of building a network of similar professionals or organizations. Always tailor a keynote to your audience using lots of visuals. If you have a booth, try to make it as interactive as possible. But presentations don't have to be in person. Recording videos is another great communications tool. These could be formal presentations or training videos and informal introductions to your project. You could put them on YouTube, your blog, social media, or partake in live broadcasts like Facebook Live or Periscope to reach a wide audience. As they're recorded, they're also really easy to reuse. Make sure you tailor your presentation style and content to your potential audience, and again remember that connectivity could be an issue when streaming videos. Audio tools such as podcasts, radio interviews, or IVR messages can all be used as communications tools.
Hello everyone, and welcome to episode 5 of mVAM Talks, the podcast about how WFP sources its data.
An advantage of audio recordings is that they're a good way of sharing information in areas where connectivity might be low. Thanks for watching this introduction to communications. For more information and further guidance, see the further resources of this lesson. You can also check out examples of mVAM's communication products on our website, blog, Medium, and Twitter account.